Hey guys, I think we've got audio. It's been a big day. Yeah, a bit crazy. Spent the day fixing stuff. Good idiot vision. G'day, Jamal. Good day. Betty, hello. Stuart, hello. Yeah, it's been a big day, to be honest. I'm scruffy, my face is dirty, I'm covered in sawdust, if you have a look. Didn't even get to blow down my shirt before I left. Yeah, I think I've still got sawdust in my glasses, to be honest. Probably should do something about that. Anyway, been home a little while. I've been looking for stuff. I've been trying to sort out my electrolysis tank downstairs with no luck. Anyway, here we are. Scruffy. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. So we were messing around with this block plane, Mr. Stanley. You're all familiar with that. And we were doing up a CAD drawing for it. And last week we didn't get a lot done because of projects, etc. We weren't really feeling in the mood, but we got a bit more done and we'll back up to speed. So let's have a look at it. I think that does it. Yeah, there we go. So on shape, we're all familiar with it. We don't probably need to have a talk through it. This is what we got. Now, stirring up the lakes down there, that'd be nice. You need a shack and a case of fortified red and a spare weekend. Someone to snuggle up to. It's not snowing here. So that's where we got to. I ended up cleaning up these letters and positioning them nicely around there. On shape at this point, I don't think has an array letters along a line function, which is a bit of a pity. We've got a poor connection sticker sticking up here. So let's see how we go with this. Let us know if you drop out. We got this bit positioned in the right place. So if we have a look at the right plane here, click the right plane. This is looking like it should look in the right spot, and I'll change around and find that this line here, if we look in the right plane, this line lines up with this, and this other bolt in here, which is hidden, this one is about 1.6 or something underneath. So that all works. All our letters are lined up as nice as I can make them. You find that if they're a little bit one way or the other, you can select them all and rotate them on the radius of that line and move them backwards and forwards so they're in the middle. So we can finalize that. They're all different colors, and that's because they're all different parts. So down here we've got part 1, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part 7, part 8, part 9. If we just use a Boolean union, and our tools is this, select that first, and part 2, select that, I think. Oh, part 4. Wait for it to do its thing. And press there or finalize it. Basically, that makes it all one part, so that's done. That's not terrible. We need to do the same with this piece, which I've modified or arranged or anything. We could just use a Brilliant Union. And this one, and this one. If we select them in that order, we maintain the surface finish of this piece when we put it in together. Just as a interesting thing, if we reorder this, it changes to it was on the other piece. See, they are different colours. We've still got two parts. We've got that one and that one. So, Union, and the tools of that, part 1, which we haven't renamed yet. 2. We find that we've only got one part in here, and these pop up in this window as you click on them. So if we there we go. It's looking pretty good. This could do with a fillet around it. And that's probably a 2mm fillet, something like that. So we could do that. Like so. And probably this could do with the 1mm fillet around it too, just to clean it all up. So we change this to 1mm. We can't do that. So we need to suppress this one. Control Z and undo it and do it again. And then we could start with this. Gives a nice round edge on there, and we'll do the same with this one. And it's not working because I think we're just working a little bit too hard on this internet connection after the storm. Do the thing. There we go. We've got orange line again, so that should work. There we go. Now if we put this fillet here, down here, and unsuppress it, it should work still. There we go. Beautiful. So that's that part. It's pretty well finished. We've still got something to do, and that's to put a groove around the centre of this. Now I believe that was put in with the rotary cutter, so it's got a round corner in the front here. In this part of it, it's got a round corner. I'm only guessing at the diameter, but let's do that. Our right plane is on the centre line, so we can just put a sketch straight on there for that. And looking at it, oh gosh. Let's have a look here. Sketch 5, sketch 6 sounds right. Let's turn sketch 6 on so we can actually see it. And let's turn off part or hide part 1. And all we've got left is if we make another sketch on the same plane, sketch 10 on the, and then we have a good look at this. The light here so we can have a look. Could have washed this first, we've got dust everywhere. Well, I reckon the centre line is about where that hole is, and we're about 5 mil up from this surface. So if we draw a line here, across here, escape, and put a dimension on there so that this one here is there and there. We're not far out. I think we're going to change that to 4 millimeters because it's a little bit below that bottom, that centerpiece. Four millimeters. There we go. And the curve, the tangent arc. Probably not the easy way to do it. Let's escape that and just put a center point arc there, down to there, around there like that. I guess, and we'll trim, which is the M button for a shortcut. that out of there. We'll draw the rest of this box out of the way here. And hopefully that should shade itself in nicely there like that, so it's ready to go. And if we turn part 1 on, that's where our radius should go. Let's extrude that. I reckon it's 2 meters deep. 2 millimeters. There we go. It's a removal. We'll remove that from that piece. And it's symmetrical, so it's 1 millimeter each side of the plane. And click that. We can turn off sketch 6 now. I'll hide that. There we go. If we press P, we can get rid of all those planes and have a look. That's looking pretty good. I reckon it's probably not far off what it needs to be. So there we go. So we could probably do a little bit of we change the appearance, make it a dark grey all over. It's not terrible. And then we open this over here, which is our appearance panel. We can add appearance to face, which could be that colour, probably wouldn't look terrible. And that one, our machine surfaces. That one. What else have we got that's machined? This one. And this one and this one. And I've only got one of them. We'll do that one as well. There we go. And this end here. And this end. And we finalise that. And that's looking something like. We can close that again, just click on that. And if we have a look at this, it's looking pretty good. So that's that part finished. If we have a look at our assembly where we were before, that should automatically update, and that's what we end up with the brass nut. Now we've got some animation sort of half ready to go. If we give this a spin, it goes up and down the thread. What's next? What are we going to put on next? There's some levers and things. Probably this piece in the front looks a bit incomplete without that. So let's do that. We start a new part studio. Create Part Studio there on that front corner. You can't see me at all because of the light. I apologise for that. There we go. We've got a new Part Studio. What are we going to do? Have a look at the part. Zero outside. That's a bit miserable. So this is the frog, or the front piece, or the, we call it the adjustable throat. It's not really the frog. It's got an S and a B on it. I've got no idea why. It's got a raised boss there. It's got a flat surface. It's got a bit of an angle on this end, and it's got a round piece to match on this end. So that's the next piece. Now, most of these oops, I've dropped that. No idea where. There it is. Most of these lines we already have on a drawing somewhere. So we're going to try and use them if we possibly can, and have this piece ready and put it in place and make it slide backwards and forwards. So let's do that next. If we use this function here, which is derive, that one, it's this one here. It's that little box with an arrow going into it, derive. If we click that, we come up with a little window and we can select the part. So we can select the base plate. We select part 1. Or we can select one of these drawings if we know which one we want. That's a bit complicated. Let's just set the part. We should have one. Our base origin, that's where it's going to be, just exactly in the same spot. What that's done is brought that piece from our base plate drawing into our parts, which we've got to rename. Adjustable mouth, we'll call it. So we have part 1 in there. If we look at the bottom here, and we put a new sketch on this plane, which is right on the use the use or the vector button. We can then select this line for our sketch, 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 probably this line and this line for our sketch, and this line for our sketch. Then all we need to do is turn this part off, close it, and find out that it hasn't actually done anything. Why is that so? Sketch on our top plane, and we're going to use the use button. Let's try again. That one, 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 I think. There we go, that worked. We turn that off now. We've got a sketch that's that part. Very good. It's probably out of sync. Yeah, I'm sorry about that if it is. Where'd my ruler go last night? Anyone remember? I'm at that point that I can't find anything. It's getting a bit beyond a joke, to be honest. It's under my mobile phone. Got a ruler. A little bit prepared. Saying brings this round normal. Doesn't actually. There we go. That brings it round normal. Pressing in. We can zoom that in. Our measurement here. Look at this sketch. From this line to this point here should be, according to this, probably 42 mil. So 42. It'll try to change that, but it won't have much luck. So what we do is click on that and press delete, because that's the one that's holding us up. Or it was the one that was holding us up. There we go, it's that one. That's not parallel, so it's must be this one. Nope. Nope. Yeah. We could do this. It's one way we could deal with it. There is another way we could deal with it, but there we go. So it's 42 mil long. This raised section is 40, so we might use this line here for that. It doesn't work. Control Z is probably our friend. Let's delete this line. We'll put another line in. Press that and Q for a construction line. And we'll put a line across here, something like that. Then put a measurement on that. Because that's not a derived line or a projected line, it won't give us problems. we go. Doesn't seem quite right. I'll have another look at that. We'll call it 39, I think. So we can press M for trim. We can trim this one. We can trim this one. Press escape or click that button again to get rid of it, and then highlight that. We can select the construction or press Q again, and it changes that from the construction line. There we go. So now we've got that raised up bit. There's actually a pattern around this piece. I think we're going to offset some lines on the sketch. We've got 2 lines selected by some crazy mistake. I'm just going to select one, then offset. Do it. And it's offset it the wrong way. So we click that arrow, just reverse it. And then left click, and it comes up with a little window. That front one, I reckon, is about 4 millimeters. Hey, Mark. My network's probably not good, to be honest, and it could be my computer. The other 3 lines here are offset 3 millimeters. Can we do them all at once? No, that's not what we want. We want this one. Trim these ends here, like so. We offset this sketch line here. It just offsets the sketch. We can probably mirror this one. Well, let's do this first. Before we do that, another line. Just got a piece down the middle here. We might put that line down. It's about 1.5 mil off the centre. .5. There we go. Let's trim all this up. Just for the sake of clarity and to make it all work when we start. That's what we're getting. Now we can mirror it. We mirror that line, it turns yellow. We can put a mirror that line there, across the centre, and that one. And we'll go back and trim this piece here. Trim that one out there, trim this one. We've got two boxes basically. That's what shape it looks like. And all we need to do is extrude that. So looking at it, if we can see that, I might jump to the big screen again. Okay, guys. Since we've got that down, how to do it. There we go. So it's got that raised piece in the centre. We've drawn that out, right? Now this is extruded from this surface here. It's extruded. I think it's got to be to go back in, so we don't have to move it around when we put it in our assembly. We've drawn it on this face, so we need to extrude the whole lot up this distance. My nails are terrible. And then this raised piece up that little bit extra from the bottom. So not difficult. I don't think this stream's worth ad revenue. I don't think there's any ad revenue on it because I'm still trying to get verified again for the second time around. Anyway, let's do some extruding. Make this into an actual real part. We can start with that piece. I think that was 4 millimeters. I may be wrong. I don't remember what we actually drew it. But let's start with 4 because it's got to match the other piece. It automatically turns that sketch off. You can change that in the settings. I think if it's annoying you, it's not a bad thing because it keeps everything clean and tidy. If we extrude this section and this section and this section, at 3 mil, that gives us our piece. Now there's a boss in the center, and we've got to remember that this is on a funny angle here. Yes, it's a AAA multifix on a A2 launch. That's very correct. Well spotted. I think it's the default thumbnail. I'm not sure why it does that. Now this has got about a 1 degree angle on the back, I think. It's a good question, but it's not very much angle, but I think it's there. Put a sketch on there. Fix that quickly. Parallel line along there. And dimension on that angle. It's not that much. 80. Let's call it 85. 86 would be good. It's about right. And we want to transform those two lines. So the sketch, we need to drag this one and this one. If we select this center circle, we can move this nicely to there. And we can drag it up until it clicks onto that line. And we can drag it out. Yeah. I'm going to do that again. Something like that. Complete this box roughly like this so that it fills itself in so we can extrude it. And click the extrude button. We need to remove the parts and be symmetrical from the center. And rather than blind, we'll just go through all. There we go. So that's done. Interesting. Waiting and drive belts to be able to bore out the tailstock on your launch. Why not leave it 1.2 degrees? You do know that it's 1.2 degrees. Look, if you've got a live stream tomorrow night, I will go over the launch a bit and we'll answer some questions, but Morse Table 1 is not particularly helpful. Somehow banned from Discord. Oh my gosh. Mine's still 1.2 degrees, which isn't terrible and it works. At some point, I will find another tailstock and make that Morse Taper 1, or I'll find a later Morse Taper tailstock. Love to see some pictures. But it's certainly doable. And if you're going to do that, well, yeah, certainly make it Morse Taper. But if you've got any 1.2 degree tooling for your tailstock, you send me an email or get in touch and I'll send you some money for it and you can post it to me. There we go. Because I'm looking for it. So this is starting to look pretty good. There's a couple more features. First one is a boss here in the center. You're going to double check that. It's about 24 millimeters from the top corner. A new sketch on this bottom plane. And a circle. Somewhere there. It's not 15 mil diameter. It's more like 10. And we're going to put a measurement on that. $24 mil, we said. There we go. Let's extrude that. From the bottom plane, it wants to be probably 10 millimeters tall. And there's a shaft on it. $4 sounds about right. You know, it's still automatically selected add, so it's added it in as that part of that. we'll put a 1mm fillet around that. And so you get discorded, excellent. 109 mates. Production machines generally were missing those pieces. And we're going to talk, 109. Use that tailstock tape. No, they don't. There we go. A Chauvelin 109 is 2 degrees. Launch is 1.2. There we go. Until the 1960s. And then they became, the late 50s, it became more stable. Can't do that. You can do that. There we go. So it's starting to look something like. There's a thread in the middle. Done that 109, mate. No idea. Chauvelin's Morse 2. Some of them were. The early stuff was 2 degrees, which is a stupid. Yeah, it's Chauvelin. But 1.2 is not much more helpful, to be honest. There's a thread. A proprietary taper. Now, this has this nut screw into it, which is a bit fancy. And looking at that, it's about 5mm. It's fairly coarse. Let's call it 5mm. So we'll put a sketch on this on top here. And find the center of it and put a 5mm hole. Extrude it. Just screw the nut in, the bolt into it, and it appears to be about, what, 6mm deep. So if we go 6, tomorrow on a live stream down in the workshop, very launch. We press remove there. Very launch oriented, to be honest. So not one to be missed. There's that. We put a thread in. Up here on our, we've got a thread creator. You might have to search for that if it's not on your list, but it's certainly there. Click the face to thread. We'll change this to and ISO standards 0.8, isn't it? Come on, you can do it. With that, we've got an M5 by 0.8 thread in there. That bit's pretty well finished. It has got some initials in it. Will we bother doing them? I'm not sure why, but it does have an S and a B in it. What happens to S and B that way? Proprietary threads, not so much, but there's some odd stuff that we think now is proprietary, but it's actually German standards before the rest of the world got a look in. Instrument threads in particular are very I don't know, they're language oriented, they're country oriented. German instruments threads are very unique, as are British, as are American, as are French instrument threads. They're all a little bit strange, but you'll find the Lorch has Leuvenheiser or Leuvenherz threads. Which is pretty odd. Don't get much odder than that. Anyway, we need to turn this around, so we'll go to this little arrow here. We'll select this one. Swing this around so it's the right way up. And we'll put a sketch on this surface here. If we move up here, we can scroll out and we can move this in relation to our cursor. These are going to be pretty rough. Come on, do the thing. Let's move that around there. Let's move that across there. Move that down there. Put a measurement on it. It's probably 7.5 millimeters. We're going to put another measurement between here and we'll call it the center of that. No, here and here. We'll measure that with our ruler just to see what size it is. We'll call it 35. It's about where they need to be. Click here to edit text. Go and click that. Then edit text. Two more spaces in there. It's probably the Sheets way of doing it. We could change and do them all separately. We could trans dimension between this line and this line. And type O. And that line's set up. we could extrude that skin. And it's 1 millimetre that sticks up. So there we go, it's that part. Let's do the same thing. We should rename that because otherwise it's going to be hard to find. We're going to call that the mouth. And if we right click on that or right click on this piece, I think we've got to, we can edit appearance for mouth. Dark grey, match. And click on this. And add appearance to face. Probably that colour, was it? Looking at that. It's machine surface and the machine surface. Machine surface. The back is a machine surface. And this one. And this one. And this one here. There we go. So that's that part finished. And because we've taken it off this part, it should actually line up very nicely when we just insert it. So to insert it, we click Insert, we click Adjustable Mouth. And without moving off this window, we click that. There you go. Sorted, job's done. So that's that. Where are we going? How are we going for time? We've been in an hour, which is way longer than we probably should be anyway. But anyway, we can make some other bits. Let's make this brass nut for the other end. So the brass nut that goes in there. I think that's the next part. We could probably put a slider mate on this. We just need some offset because we've selected, for ease of selection, I've selected one each side rather than try and select the same mate 10 times. So the red arrow there is the X. Looking at this up here. So our X offset needs to be, was it 40 mil? It's getting close. Not quite. 42. Look at the front. So 43 maybe. We could go back and look it up. There we go. It's got a slider, mate, so we can actually adjust that. It pulls backwards and forwards. It won't go any other frame. And we can adjust the amount it slides backwards and forwards. So here we can change our limits. We'll go into this a bit more, but we edit it just the same as a sketch or anything else. And we've got a limits selection here. We'll check this, but that's probably not far out. If we change the number of steps to say 60, it'll run a bit quicker and you'll be able to see it. But look at the animation. That's probably about where it needs to be. If we have a look at this and make sure that it doesn't bump on anything. See, that's too far that way because that thread's going past the end of the hole. I reckon it only wants about 3 mil, so let's change that to 3. And try again. It's not even that much, 2.5. That looks pretty sweet. So that works. Very good. Start. Yeah, will we put that on there? Or will we make the blade and put that in? Really good question. Now let's make the knob. That's an easy bit. New part studio before we change our mind. It comes up as default difference is not taken. Rename that. As front knob. I don't know if it's called a bun or not. Anyway, that's done. Now, we're going to revolve this round, so let's start with a sketch on the front plane, like this. And a line, we'll press Q, which selects our construction line. First thing, if we're going to revolve something, we'll always put a construction line in for the center. Press escape. You don't have to put a dimension on in the way. We'll start here. It's a flat end on that screw, so we're going to come out here. What do we say? Was it a 5mm screw? 2.5. And the screw comes up here. How long is the screw? nowhere near 33 mil. Could be 11. I could say it's 7/16, but 11 will do. And it's getting a bit small, so I'm going to just scroll out and blow that up. Now, we're going to draw a line across here somewhere. Just roughly out there like that. And another one like that for the top. And another one for the bottom of the knob. Just roughly like that. Now, this one actually construction line. We make that a solid line. We put a dimension on it. So if we click from that line there, and click on that construction line, it gives us a diameter like that, which is 12.5. Hey John, we're messing around. That's what we're doing. So this top one is 23 mil above the top there, so we put a dimension on that from there to there somewhere. It's not that big, it's 23. This one here. And this one here. Call that 20. This measurement here, click on there. Has to be, what diameter is this knob? We'll call it 22 mil. I'm not even going to bother measuring that one. I'm just going to do, and we're going to put some lines in here. So we go up 3 mil. Three. And in there, 1.5. And there's a dish in the top. Seems quite a dish, but I reckon it's only 3 mil. But we need to mirror these. For the purposes of this. And a 3-point arc. We're going to guess that. Call it 17 mil radius. That'll do. That's what the top of that looks like. And then there's another another radius from here down to here. We'll do the same thing. We'll go from there. Okay, that's about right. That's what the knob looks like. You can trim this side. Don't want to do that. What we want to do, extend this construction line all the way through to there, and that gives us a basis to trim from. Trim that one. Trim that one. And we can turn this one here into a solid line. So trim this one, it's a bit sticking up. And revolve it. We'll use this one here that looks like half a donut. Plus 2 Stefan videos. It's not a hardship. I'd rather watch the 2 Stefan videos. So face of the sketch one, and our revolve axis is this centre line. Right, it looks something like that. We can put a thread on there. It's a bit crap in blue, so I'm going to change that straight up. Let's click on that and change edit appearance. Let's change it to that. I don't know if that's the right one, but it looks a bit more brassy. I'm going to rename that. There's several ways we could do that. We're going to click on here to rename it. And we're going to put a thread on there. So drop this down as the thread creator. Puts proper threads on things if we're going to make them all mesh together. There is a whole function which puts sort of a fake thread on. With an ISO thread, we don't want a 0.8 pitch to match the other one. Single start, and it's not fully threaded. There's a couple of mil at the top that aren't. So, and our distance. Call that 9 millimeters. So there's our thread. There's also a knurl. We need to make it look something like our other knurl. Which is probably the easiest way to do that. If we use the derive tool again, and do the same thing. Select Part Studio. Rear adjuster knob. Part 1. Sketch 2 is what we want. What we've done is put part 2 in there with this sketch that we use for the knurl. We drop this down, we've got sketch 2, and we can edit that. actually drive sketch, so we can't. But the best thing to do is to make a new sketch on the face of this. And use this part of the sketch. It's not going to work. So make that window, that one, and that one. We've selected way too much of this, so I'll delete that. Sketch 2, we're going to have to edit that. What have we done? Control Z, our friend. Let's do sketch 2 and edit that. A new sketch, that's what we were doing on that plane. We need this little triangle. We're done. Nearly wheel disorder syndrome, John. That's why it's hard to do nails on this road. What you need to do is submit a there probably is a way to do it quite simply. There we go. Now we're where we need to be. I almost guarantee that there's a way to do it. I need to look for it. We might do it in a second and have a look. We might just have a look for that, and we'll see if we can find something, because we probably can. Wrong one. Probably this was too much tonight. Circular pattern we need. Yep. Axis of pattern is going to be that. I'm not even halfway up where John is with knurls. Where are we here? That's around behind my head. Where's go? It's this one. Anyway, we've got an knurl on that. There must be an easy way to do that, so we might have a look at that. Can you benefit on NDAS? Probably. Anyway, that's the knob. Search tools here for knurl. Item searcher on the. So let's look for. We drop this window down and add custom features. It's loading. It's a lot of knobs that are knurled, derived from other drawings and other parts. I'm sure there's a part studio, a feature script to do it. Can have a look this week and I'll report back. Yes, we might just use it. I'm sure there would be. Anyway, we can put that in our assembly anyway now. We might call that. Anyway, insert, and it's going to put it right in the middle there. See? So we'll put this out here. What we haven't done is deleted that second knob. We can click that and just click the one and insert that rather than insert both. Might do that. It's easy enough to click that. Backspace. Like that. So, Revolute Mate, I think. Screw threads. One cylindrical mate we need, so we'll make a cylindrical mate with this one, which means it can slide that way and turn. Slider, Revolute, cylindrical mate. We'll call that surface, which is the nice round one, and that surface, which is also nice and round. Click on the front. It needs to be offset a little bit. I need some limits. Click the limits. So I'll slide this up here so I can actually see it. Let's go -2. And it's need to come right out. So probably 4 millimeters. So the limits is just trial and error, really. It's not enough. I'll mess with that a bit more. So 2. No. Wrong way. -7 that way. 6 that way. Let's try that. Not quite. Let's just mess with this until we get it right. refinement, primary axis, and see what we end up with. Limits are a bit tricky. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we're overthinking it. It doesn't work. Let's change that. Make the light connector here. We can't make it there. Which one's the middle? There. Is that right? Yeah, it's doing all sorts of things. You can use the surface as a limit, yes. Anyway, let's put a screw on that anyway. On this cylindrical mate. The distance per revolution is 0.8. Mate selected. Degree of wrong one. And of course it's running backwards. Take care, James. We might do a little bit more on that and a bit more when I'm in the mood to actually animate these properly. Because it's not right. Anyway, knob's on. There's another piece to go under there with a little pin in that hole. And that should be able to make that so that when you slide this lever backwards and forwards, this actually moves in and out. So we should be able to do that without any problems. Anyway, I've probably had enough, but we're getting there. This animation here needs to be set up better, and I'm going to have a play with that in a refresher course, and I'll come back and we'll have a look at that. This little piece lever that goes in here that slides on this knob's the same. I don't think that one's quite as complicated. And then when we've got that in and this lever on here, we can start thinking about putting a lever on top of here and a screw and a plane. What we can do is put a screw in here. Now this is an M. Looking at it, we're going to have a look. It's M7 by 1. So on our assembly, we can go to Insert, and Standard Content. See it. ISO bolts and screws M7. Doesn't show it. Look at that. Not helpful. Slotted head screws. Cheese head screw, countersunk, raised countersunk, pan head screw. That'll do nicely. Size M7 isn't there. It's a bit embarrassing. But if we need an M6 one, we can select that. And it wants to be what? How long? 15 mil? 16 millimeters? Probably in brass. There we go. And we can put a standard screw in there. So that's one way of doing it. We might draw up a screw because it's a bit different to that. It's got a screw in the thread, but you can certainly just insert standard components. It hasn't got a thread on it. Not a very difficult thing to put a thread on, but there we go. So that's what we've done. We're getting there. There's still a fair bit to do, but it's starting to come together. If we get this front end piece working and this back end piece working, and a lever on here, which is a bit tricky, a couple of levers, and a blade and a cap, and this screw in there, we've got it finished. But it's starting to look something like, so I'm pretty pleased with that. pretty pleased with that. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed because I had a late night on Sunday night. I went up to Glen Innes. More about that trip on tomorrow. And didn't get home till way too late. And Monday was a bit of a cow of a day. We've had a bit of a cow of a week at work. Nothing that we can't sort of handle, and it's not anything that's a real hardship. It's just that we've got a machine out and we fixed what we thought was wrong, and it wasn't what was wrong. So we'll have to work on that. Anyway, things to do, places to be. Be kind to each other, and on Discord for a little while, chat, but won't be too long. I'm going to finish my cup of tea, and I'll be down in bed. We'll catch you. Thanks, guys.